Coming up, crime is down in the city of Pittsburgh, but what about Point Park's campus? A look at the university's crime rates just ahead.
And students locked out. How a recently added security feature is causing a headache for commuters.
Plus, mandatory diversity and sexual harassment trainings for students due in just a couple of months. The price Point Parkers will pay if they miss the deadline. These top stories and more just ahead. Point News starts right now.
Live from the Point Park University Broadcast Center in downtown Pittsburgh, this is Point News.
Good afternoon, I'm Garrett Bahana.
And I'm Lindsay Carson. Since the new turnstiles were installed this semester, Point Park students need to swipe their IDs to get into Lawrence Hall. But for some, it's just not that easy. Commuter students have been complaining about not being able to get through the Lawrence Hall turnstiles after 6 p.m. This can be problematic for students who have night classes or just want to go to the cafe for dinner. Commuter students want to know why they have a time restriction on when they can get into buildings just because they live off campus. The school has yet to address this issue, so no one knows if it is going to be changed.
I think not letting commuter students in at 6 o'clock is a problem. Like I said, I understand it's a security thing. I'm okay with it after the 6 to 9 classes. I think that'd be great, but you can't have a 6 to 9 class in Lawrence Hall for commuter students and then we can't get into it and expect us to go around through academic. I think if they're going to do it, they need to push the time back.
At present, there is no solution to this issue.
The Senate voted yesterday evening to acquit President Trump of both articles of impeachment. With the result, President Trump will not be removed from office. It was all but expected, according to major political analysts, following Trump's State of the Union address on Tuesday night. However, it wasn't a complete party line vote, as Republican Senator Mitt Romney voted to remove Trump on the grounds of abuse of power, becoming the first senator in U.S. history to vote to convict a president of their own party.
Website in Pennsylvania alone, there are more than 2.1 million young voters.
It is so important for college students to vote. Youth are the largest voting bloc that there is, and studies show that when youth come out and they come out in numbers, progressive victories happen. So 40% of the 2020 electorate is youth, that is people 18 to 35 years old.
According to USA.gov, you can go to vote.gov to register to vote. You can also download the National Mail Voter Registration Form to have an absentee ballot.
I am planning on voting, and I think it's important, especially in the current state, especially because the impeachment trials just started, so I think that's a big ordeal. And I think depending on which side you're on, it's important for college students just because each candidate currently has different opinions and ideals for college students.
After having issues with the Democratic Party's caucus reporting app, Iowa finally got their Democratic results on the evening of Tuesday, February 4th. To resolve the problem, caucus chairs had to count the votes using a worksheet and email pictures of the results. The Republican vote didn't seem to have any technical issues and resulted in President Donald Trump taking the lead with 31,464 votes. The second highest amount of votes in the Republican Party belonged to Bill Weld, who got 426 votes. The Democratic Party was led by Pete Buttigieg, who got 550 votes. Buttigieg was followed closely by Bernie Sanders, who got 547 votes.
Beginning October 1st, 2020, Pennsylvanians are required to have a Real ID compliant license, an ID card or other form of federally acceptable identification. According to PennDOT, if a citizen does not have it, they will be unable to board domestic flights, enter a military base, or enter a federal facility. Pittsburgh International Airport stated that if a Real ID or valid passport is not present at a security check, then TSA will deny access to board a domestic flight. Information on how to apply for a Real ID can be found on PennDOT's website.
Point Park University is offering a new graduate degree, and the subject deals with a hot-button topic in today's society, the environment. Graduate students can begin a Master of Arts in Environmental Journalism starting this fall of 2020. The program will be funded by the Heinz Endowment and will be marketed to students all across the nation.
Environmentalism is a big issue. It's a hot issue right now. It's going to be a major issue in the upcoming 2020 elections. There's a lot of work to do, and we really need this reporting right now desperately.
The city of Pittsburgh reports the overall crime rates dropped from last year. According to a Pittsburgh press release, there were 1,569 violent crimes reported in the city in 2019. That is a 0.8% drop from 2018. Point Park University Police Chief Jeffrey Bissong tells Point News crime rates dropped on Point Park's campus as well last year. About 750 incidents were reported on campus in 2018, and that number dropped to around 740 in 2019. Bissong tells us the full crime report for 2019 is set to be released later this year.
If you've been ignoring those Point Park emails urging you to complete diversity awareness and sexual violence training, your time may be running out. Point News reporter Sarah Yobi has this story.
According to Point Park's Title IX coordinator Vanessa Love, the university is making diversity awareness training and sexual violence training mandatory for all students at the end of February of this year. The courses are being provided by a new vendor this semester. This vendor provides a more in-depth experience by including bystander intervention. Trainings must be completed by the end of the semester or students will be faced with a fine from the university.
I just remember it was like, what is consent? And then it would give you like multiple choice answers to the question, and then you would just pick one and move on. Or like, what is diversity? And it would do the same thing. So they were pretty generic, basic questions.
Students who feel they may be re-traumatized from the training are encouraged to reach out to the Title IX coordinator for accommodations with the course.
Obviously, there was like scenes in the program that it was like people like touching inappropriately and stuff, and it'd be like, this is incorrect, inappropriate, and then they would move on. But on the screen, there was a trigger warning little button on the corner, so you can press it, and then it wouldn't show you anything. It would just be the audio.
Love mentioned that the university is instituting these trainings to ensure all students understand sexual violence prevention and maintaining their role in a safe and inclusive campus. I'm Sarah Yobi reporting downtown Pittsburgh for Point News.
Tomorrow, February 7th, is National Wear Red Day. According to the American Heart Association's website, the first Friday of February is Wear Red Day to support American Heart Month. Go Red for Women is the association's national movement to end heart disease and stroke in women. Wearing red is meant to raise awareness about cardiovascular diseases and show support for the cause.
After the break, patients at UPMC Children's making the news for literally making the news.
Children in their rooms.
The infamous Punxsutawney Phil emerged from his den over the weekend, but could he find his shadow? I'm Kiara Fry, and coming up, how Phil's Groundhog's Day prediction matches up with my full weather forecast. Just ahead.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family.
Openness. Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
2-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
A successful singer and songwriter visited Point Park's campus over the weekend to talk to students. Point News reporter Kiara Fry has that story.
Singer and songwriter Matt Carney was here on Point Park University's campus on Friday to talk to students in a Q&A session. Carney answered questions about his career, his songwriting process, and what it's like working in the music industry.
For me, I've always felt like I'm doing that, also doing that for people. So like if I'm brave enough to go there, someone listening to music can kind of go there too with me, and it like helps them process certain moments of their own life.
According to his website, Carney has released 3 top 20 albums throughout his career. Carney's current tour for his album Crazy Talk brought him to Pittsburgh to perform at the Roxanne Theater. And Point Park's Director of Marketing and Public Relations, Lou Corsaro, saw this as an opportunity to simply reach out.
So really it's a matter of tracking down who their agents and managers are, and I just put in, developed email requests, so it includes information on Point Park, the programs we offer, why we'd be a good location for something like this, and we've gotten, thankfully, about 5 or 6 people who have reached out to us and wanted to do it.
Bringing artists and performers to campus has helped give students more insight into the careers and industries that they plan to pursue after graduation.
I think it's so important to bring someone, even if they're small, in so that we can get just knowledge from their past experiences, because everyone is so different on how they made it, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get into that industry any way that we can. So any advice that the artist can give, any inspiration, it's totally worth it.
Corsaro says that the university has plans to bring more artists like Carney here to the CMI on Point Park University's campus. Reporting for Point News, I'm Kiara Fry from downtown Pittsburgh.
Don't you hate getting clumps of hair stuck in your brush? Well, in today's Black History Month Spotlight, we honor Lyda Newman. She was an African-American inventor who revolutionized the hairbrush to have a detachable compartment so it could be easily cleaned. Newman was granted the patent in 1898. She was just 14 at the time.
Does Punxsutawney Phil's prediction match up with the weekend weather forecast? Kiera Fry is in studio now with the weather. Kiera?
Punxsutawney Phil couldn't find his shadow on Sunday, predicting an early spring, but while his predictions seemed to be spot on with temperatures in the 50s and 60s earlier this week, the weekend weather forecast looks a little different. On Friday, we have a low of 24 and a high of 35, but as we move on into the weekend, those temperatures are going to kind of stay the same on Saturday with a high of 37 and a low of 27, and there's going to be a 30% chance of precipitation, so on Friday or Saturday we might see a little bit of snow, but it might turn into rain depending on how warm those temperatures get. And on Sunday we have a high of 42, warming up a little bit, but the low is still going to be in the 20s with a low of 26. Back to you guys at the desk.
One little boy at UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh recently had his 15 minutes of fame. Point News reporter Nicole Fushino has the story.
There are big dreams being made here at UPMC Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh. This is Dominic. Sometimes he's a hospital patient, and other times he's a TV host.
Today we're going to be doing a dream jar craft.
Hosting TV shows is just one of many things patients can now do at UPMC Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, thanks to the grand opening of their new Dream Big studios.
Kids can help run a camera. Kids can be where the radio host station is to DJ. Kids can be back in our control room and help run the TV switcher.
Hammond says that shows will include radio hours where kids can call in and request a song, interviews with special visitors, game shows, and more.
Dominic, who was right next to me, he was just truly over the moon about getting to be on TV.
It was good. Patients can access these shows through the televisions in their hospital rooms by tuning in to Channel 1.
And for those of you in your rooms...
And in the future, patients who can't leave their hospital rooms will be able to call into the shows to still be a part of the fun.
So this lends itself to have a complete reach of all of our kids and families who are inpatient.
Hammond says that the studio will help children and their families cope during their hospital stays.
Very proud. He had a lot of fun. He likes talking to people, wants to build homes when he gets bigger, so he it was great to see him get an opportunity to do that.
Talk shows, music, and smiles might just be the best form of medicine.
From the small screen to the big screen, it's every filmmaker's dream to snag one of these. Everything you need to know about the 92nd Academy Awards is coming up.
But first, I'm Aaron Becker. Coming up in Point News Sports, Super Bowl Sunday lived up to all the hype and more with multiple records being set. 3 Steelers are being enshrined into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and 1 Pioneer just set a school record. This and more when we return.
The United Student Government at Point Park University, working since the 1970s to solve the issues that matter to you. What concerns do you have about the university? Student life, safety, food service? Send us an email to studentconcerns@pointpark.edu or stop by our office on the 7th floor of the Student Center. You can also attend our weekly open meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Follow us on social media at USG_PPU for more. The United Student Government, by the students, for the students.
The Point Park Sports Network, bringing you live coverage of Pioneer Athletics on Stretch Internet, the home of the River States Conference and the NAIA. Subscribe today for complete access to the Point Park volleyball, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams. Watch live and on-demand broadcasts and don't miss a minute of Point Park Athletics. Head to pointparksports.com/live for broadcast listings. The Point Park Sports Network, your streaming home for Point Park Athletics.
3, 2, 1.
Please visit our website. Please, it's a nice website. Please visit our website. Please.
If you have ever watched television, whether accidentally or on purpose, YouView is for you.
Welcome back to Point News. I'm Aaron Becker with your sports update. Before Sunday, it was 50 years since the Kansas City Chiefs had won a Super Bowl. Both teams were pretty evenly matched entering halftime with the score tied 10-10. But the 49ers started the second half hot and led 20-10 in the fourth quarter. However, it was the Chiefs who delivered another comeback, winning the game 31-20, hoisting their second ever Lombardi Trophy. Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes was the MVP of the game, becoming the youngest Super Bowl MVP ever and the second youngest quarterback to win a Super Bowl behind Ben Roethlisberger. He's also the youngest player to ever win the NFL MVP and a Super Bowl. 3 Pittsburgh Steelers are heading to Canton, Ohio, the home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Former head coach Bill Cowher was surprised on live television by David Baker, the president of the Hall of Fame. Then former safeties Troy Polamalu and Donnie Shell got the knock on their doors. There are 7 Super Bowl rings between the 3, and with a Steelers-heavy 2020 Hall of Fame class, Pittsburgh might just be getting the call for the Hall of Fame game to open up the NFL's 2020 football season. Tuesday was a good night for Pioneer basketball. Point Park's women's basketball team returned home after a weekend road trip in Kentucky to defeat their hometown rival Carlo. Freshman Taylor Wren led the way, leading the Pioneers in points scored with 24 and rebounds with 17. The final score was 70-62. The Point Park men's team played right after the women with a similar outcome Tuesday night. The Pioneers took down the Carlo Celtics 105-66 to bounce back from a rough weekend on the road. Both teams will be back in action on Saturday when they head to IU Kokomo to take on the Cougars. The Point Park's women's basketball team has another reason to celebrate. Senior Tyra James is putting her name in the record books as she broke the school record for the most three-pointers made in a career, previously set by April Austin in 2013 with 191. James broke the record last Thursday in an away game against Asbury University in Kentucky. With a good portion of her senior season left, she'll look to continue building on her legacy.
And we're just a few days away from the Oscars. This Sunday, starting at 8 p.m., the 92nd Academy Awards will appear on ABC. You can expect performances from Janelle Monáe, Elton John, and 5-time Grammy Award-winning artist Billie Eilish. Although there won't be a host this year, the Oscars have over 30 presenters to present awards to the winners for that night.
And Joker currently has the most nominations for this year's Oscars. This film is nominated for Best Picture, Cinematography, Actor in Leading Role, and much more. That's all for this week. Thank you for watching.